Welcome back, blade fans. We've got some interesting fixed blades to show you today. Not one, but two, and there's a reason for the two blades here. First of all, this is a knife by Bastinelli Knives, designed by Bastien Coves, and it was designed specifically for Fred Mastro of the Mastro self-defense system, wherein he quite frequently uses a knife. So these are tactical knives. And I know that term's kind of ambiguous to many of the viewers here, but a tactical knife can be applied to self-defense, can be applied to military, law enforcement, although it's a bit long for that purpose, but the knife has been used, according to Bastien, by the French military, along with some of his other designs, I believe. But he did tailor make this one for the Mastro fighting system. So if you're familiar with that, that's what the genesis of this was. So you see these two knives here, and this is the Bastinelli PY, and PY stands for Protect Yourself. Here is the live blade. It is a very wicked tanto inspired fighting blade, 5 inches long. We'll get the measurements in a moment. Does come both with the serrations and without the serrations. I find this about 1.5 inch worth of serrations works extremely well in situations where you need to cut rope, strapping, line, what have you, anything that's a little tougher. And if you've owned a Spyderco knife with these Spidey serrations, you know what I mean. It is a very simple handle that fits extremely well into the hand. It has plenty of length on it, which allows for many different holds on the knife handle. There is the Fred Mastro mark right there. Very simple graphic. There is the Bastinelli. It is made in, what is it made in? And I have it on the tip of my tongue. It is 690 CO. N690 CO. Boy, I'm losing it with these knife steels. N690 CO, because it is made in Italy. And I suppose I could have looked right here and gotten all that information, couldn't I? There we go. It's made by Fox in Italy. And there is your blade steel right there. And this is typically where Fox will put that information. I'm looking on the side of the blade and didn't find it. That's why. So we're going to take a closer look at that in a moment. But let's look at this other one here. Also in a Kydex sheath. Similar setup. However, this is a Zytel training blade emulating the PY, Protect Yourself. It is got Bastinelli's name on it, so you know it's not just some generic thing. And it is, I would say, pretty much the same grip, although what I noticed is that we have this contoured rounded grip on the live blade, and it is textured. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of hard to pick it up. There it is. So it is heavily textured, milled in lines all the way into the finger groove there, and that really gives you a great indexing. On the practice blade, we have a little taller handle and a little flatter handle. We still have the jimping here, as we have on the pommel of this knife, as well as most Bastinelli knives, and a good run of jimping up here on both of them. So it's a training knife you can get a good hold on. You can practice drawing from the sheath. snaps in authoritatively, thumbs off. The only thing is that on this one, the live blade, I'm noticing that they didn't raise up the kydex where you can thumb it off, which is, I think, kind of a miss with this sheath. The Bastinelli sheaths are generally very good. You will see some with that raised portion and some without it for some reason. I don't know if that's a difference of going from Fox to Lion Steel, because he has his knives made with both, and there are some being made in the US now out of M390. Anyway, if you're good with a heat gun and a little bit of practice, you can actually put a thumb off raised tunnel in there by just stretching that with maybe a hole punch or something once you heat it up. Number of ways. But let's continue looking at this knife, and we'll get some measurements on it. Why not? And it is 10 1/8, we'll call that. Call that like, I'll call it a 10.1 for sake of argument, or not. 5-inch blade exactly. Cutting edge, if we finish that cutting edge at the serrations, we've got like a 4.9. So 5-inch blade. If we go to the calipers now and get the handle thickness, it is fairly slim. It does say 0.62, but it feels fairly slim in the hand. And let's get the blade stock 0.15, which will translate to 3.8 millimeters. Finally, let's get a weight on the blade alone, knife alone. And we've got 5.46 ounces. It does feel lively and light in the hand. Now, Bastinelli calls their knives tactical art, and I can't disagree, because they're both, I guess you could say, beautiful to look at, as well as functional. And with Bastien Coves having quite a bit of martial arts background in Filipino-style knife work, he works closely with Doug Marcaida, and they have some collaborative designs as well on both karambit-style knives as well as some folders. It fits very well in the hand. I would say that if I were to redesign the knife, I would actually like the taller, flatter handle for my hand instead. Now, everybody's got a different hand size. You can't create one knife that fits everybody's hand perfectly. So, you know, this is why we collect knives sometimes, right? Aren't you looking for the perfect folder? Aren't you looking for the perfect fixed blade? I know that's sometimes what drives my buying, is that I'm always seeing something new and wondering if it isn't the more perfect thing. The balance on this is quite nice right there, although the more proper way to get that would be holding it on the side, but there's no real flat there, but it still is very close to where that finger choil is. And because Bastien Coves took a lot of direction early on from Fred Perrin is known for this deep finger choil, which creates, in essence, a guard. And this one's got a little bit extra guard as well. But it does just mold right into the hand. And if you choose to put the thumb on the back of the blade, you will be very comfortable with this. If you choose not to, you'll be comfortable as well. If you choose the point down, edge out method of holding it, the pommel is perfectly designed for you to cap your thumb on it right there. Now, I first learned a little bit about this knife from Bob DeMarco of the Knife Junkie, who had one on loan from his martial arts instructor. And I took a look at that video quite a few times before biting the bullet on this. This is a $370 purchase, and I've been getting more fixed blades lately for whatever reason. I got plenty of folders. Fixed blades, while maybe not as comfortable and discreet to carry, are certainly faster access, and you do not need to worry about the strength of the pivot, which is the weak point on a folder. Now again, this is a purpose-driven knife. It may be something you have absolutely no interest in, but there are some quote-unquote fine points to the design of it. We have a perfect swedge in the front here. We've got a long platform with lots of jimping, and the Bastinelli jimping is always a finer and file-like grippy jimping that won't chew up your finger. It's perfectly done. We have a spine that is chamfered, almost crowned, and we have a tang of the blade which actually is crowned and stands proud of the contoured handles. We have 3 screws holding the handle slabs on so they can be removed, and I suppose you could customize this knife by creating your own handle slabs if you're handy with that. Got a lanyard hole should you choose to use it. We have enough pommel so that this is definitely a weapon should you want to use it for that. And we've got a very piercy point that is fine, definitely fine, but not overly so. It does taper down quickly right here. Got a flat grind here and a very fine, highly sharpened edge. They did a good job out of the factory with that. And you can't really see a demarcation here between these two, so it is not your tanto, your Americanized tanto in that fashion, because we have all one flat surface here. You'll see no secondary grind on the flat of the blade. But you do have the secondary point, very typical of tantos. For comparison today, I'm going to bring out a knife you may be familiar with, about the same size, and that's the Coben by Cold Steel. And the Coben is I believe an Aus 8 steel, so you don't have perhaps quite as good a steel, but it's a nicely done knife, and if you're looking for something less bucks than the Bastinelli PY, this is a great alternative. You do have a hollow grind here and a flat grind here, as with the traditional original Cold Steel tanto. You have a craton handle, very grippy. Some people have complained that these do wear down and wear off over time because it is a softer, rubbery kind of a material. But initially, this is probably the grippiest stuff going as far as knife handles go. And you do have a kind of a traditional Japanese sword guard on this. It emulates that with an oval. It is contoured, and you do have a lanyard hole. And it has a shorter handle, as is common with many of the traditional Japanese tantos. And a flat on top, which is not chamfered, but we don't have any sharp edges either. And it comes through blazing sharp, as do most Cold Steel knives. Now these are coming in, I think you can get these for like about 50, 60 bucks. So if you're looking for an inexpensive alternative to the pretty expensive custom designed PY, this might be the one. So that's my offering for today. We have the Bastinelli fixed blade PY, Protect Yourself, designed for Fred Mastro system, and its companion trainer, both with Kydex sheaths, and there's a knife you can work with. It's a great idea to have a trainer exactly the same or pretty close to the same as the live blade. So you can work your techniques, whether you're martial arts or you have other combative training, military, law enforcement, what have you. That's the one to work with, of course, before you go to the live blade. Practice drawing, what have you. So there you go. Little departure from your typical folders for sure. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. You'll see that button in the lower right about now. Click it and subscribe. Be back with you soon.